And we're back. This is the third segment of Colombia Calling, episode 389. It's a very special episode because I've got two distinguished guests on the line from Bajo Chiquito in Panama. That's on the other side of the Darien Gap. You know, the Colombian side is this Necoclí and Capurganá. And on the other side is Bajo Chiquito. And of course, you'll all have heard of the humanitarian crisis that is taking place. So I've got members of Doctors Without Frontiers, or Doctors Without Borders, as Medicos Sin Fronteras, or in French, Médecins Sans Frontières. I have the project coordinator of Doctors Without Borders in Eastern Panama, Raul López, originally from Spain, and of course the Doctor Fabiola Pintado, Mexican, and they're up there working in this crisis. So welcome on the Colombia Calling podcast.
Thank you very much, Richard. It's a pleasure for us to be with you here, so we can discuss and talk what is happening here, because it's really, really a crisis, like you said.
It's really, really a crisis. So, I mean, you're on the Panamanian side. How long have you been running this project up there?
My colleagues arrived probably first week of April, and I joined them second week of May. So Doctors with Borders started making a kind of expo, we call, and we started our operations at the end of April.
Okay, so you've been in since the end of April, and what I'm reading in the press is that in the first 6 months of this year, there have already been 27,000 people crossing the border, the Darien Gap there.
I'm sorry, Richard. I think it's not correct. Since the end of July, now we are talking about 46,000 people.
46,000. So we're talking about another 20,000 on top of actual estimates at the moment.
That's correct. And it means that normally the average, the previous and former months, it was around 4,000, 5,000. But if we talk about the last 2 months, in June, they were around 8,000, but July, we are talking about 11,000. Most of them families, most of them children, almost being 20%.
20% are children, of course. So these are families coming through with minors.
A lot of them, and some of the women are pregnant, and some of the women, they are delivering in the middle of the jungle. And the worst thing, Richard, most of them, they have been robbed, assaulted in the middle of the road, and most of the women raped.
And these are the bandits, the guides, the paramilitaries, these are dissident groups, these are just the world's most evil people who are taking advantage of the people who are most suffering.
Yeah, we don't really know who is doing all these terrible acts. But let's just say evil people for sure.
Yeah.
That's the reason why Doctors with Borders is making a call to both governments, Colombian and Panama authorities, to try to protect as much as possible migrants crossing the Darien, or trying to find safe routes, because it's not a crime to be a migrant. All of them, or most of them, they have no option, they have no choice. They need to cross the Darien because they need to arrive to safe countries, because their home countries, they are suffering violence, they are suffering conflict, or due to COVID, due to this pandemic, they lost their jobs, or the salaries they are getting, they are not enough to live in this country.
So, I mean, that's a very important point you made. It's not a crime to be a migrant, and of course you're totally right. And then they're subjected to these inhumane situations, hiking. It's a 60-mile gap, or 97 kilometers, and it takes up to 10 days. And I mean, how many people are you seeing coming out of the jungle each day, more or less?
This is a good opportunity to let talk our doctor and responsible of medical activities in the project, because she's coming from Bajo Chiquito. This is the first population in Panama side, and she was there for almost 2 weeks, and she is able to talk better than me.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, our medical team is providing medical attention also with a team of psychologists, and we are providing this medical attention 24/7. Okay, we're all the time there in Bajo Chiquito, and we are giving about 150 medical consultations approx a day. But sometimes when a lot of people is arriving, we can give about 300 consultations in a day.
And so you're overwhelmed.
Almost. Richard, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting my colleague. We are supporting the Ministry of Health here in Panama, and we were asking since the beginning their collaboration, because it's not MSF's duty to do what we are doing. It's the Ministry of Health and the Panaman authorities who has to take care of these migrants and the needs they have when they arrive to Panama. Like my colleague said, the average is enormous. Yeah. It's overwhelming. But I can tell you that in 3 months and a half, Doctors Without Borders, my doctors, nurses, psychologists, colleagues, they have done more than 16,000 consultations. This is a huge number of consultations. And we are talking only about physical consultation, but also we are supporting the migrant population in mental health activities. The conditions they arrive, not only because, I repeat, I'm sorry, some of them, or a lot of women have been raped. They have a lot of consequences related to mental health stability. And the people who is surrounding these women, they have been observing what happened, doing nothing because they have been with a gun next to them. So nothing they can do. This is the reason we are providing to them mental health services, medical services, and other needs that probably Doctors Without Borders is not providing in other places we are working in. But we are the only organization who is there 24 hours, 7 days a week. We need more support from the authorities, and we need more support from national and international organizations to be more involved in these crisis situations in Bajo Chiquito. We probably will talk about other points with Doctor Without Borders is working also.
Dr. Fabiola, what are the biggest, or what are the most frequent issues that the medical team are dealing with upon the exit of the migrants from the jungle?
Yeah, most of the people that are arriving to the healthcare center are skin diseases and the lesions that are a result of the journey they have made. Okay, some of them, yeah, they have like sprains or even fractures in some parts of their body. We are also being witness of some COVID cases, okay, that we have been detecting there, and not communicable, non-communicable diseases, transmission diseases, non-transmission diseases also, and also pregnant women. As Raul have already said, these women that are arriving, they are in the last trimester of their pregnancy. So it's a really complicated situation because we try to evacuate them as soon as possible so they can get to a better infrastructure of health, so they can have a follow-up to avoid that they deliver there, because it's also a small place and we didn't have all the needs we need there to provide a medical attention.
I was going to ask about COVID, but later, but it seems quite timely now. Obviously, you are tracing cases of COVID coming through. Is it a high percentage? Because of course, I mean, it's everywhere.
We only perform the COVID test to those people that have symptoms. Okay, but we are not able to say that the average is high, because as you know, the asymptomatic population can be really, really high.
I mean, I'm trying to get my head around this figure that last year or the year before, some journalists I know wrote an incredible piece about crossing the Darien Gap. A Canadian lady named Nadia Drost for a magazine in the US and won the Pulitzer Prize for this article. And she and her team crossed it, and were with Bangladeshis and people from Syria and people from Ghana, and they were seeing people dying on the side of the pathway. I mean, I can't get my head around how difficult the hike must be. Have you ventured into the jungle itself, either of you, to see the situation there?
I'm sorry, Richard. We have not. Why? Because it's not safe. And we need our doctors, psychologists, and nurses working on medical needs. It's not safe, like I said. Like we know this Robert, I don't know which is the proper and accurate word to call him. Yeah, really near. We know that most of the rapes we are treating in our, I'm sorry, I'm low battery. We will try to manage. Most of the cases we are treating, and I can say in 3 months and a half, we have seen 105 women. We know there are more of them, but not all of them, they want to talk about it. Not all of them, even if they put in risk their own safety, their own health, they don't want to talk. They don't want to recognize, they don't want to say to anybody what happened to them. But what we know, because most of them, 75%, have been raped in less than 72 hours. It means it's been done in Panamanian side. We know that some of them has been raped also in Colombian side, or even before arriving to Colombia. But 75% in Panamanian side. I'm sorry, I repeat again. We need both governments talking and arriving to a conclusion to protect migrants crossing or avoiding to cross the Red. This is not MSF's duty to say what to do. Yeah. I mean, they need a safe route and they need protection.
What would you call upon the Colombian government to do? I mean, obviously Colombia has all sorts of challenges anyway, and of course has been reasonably or quite fraternal to its Venezuelan neighbor, the sister country, taking in so many millions of Venezuelans. But what would you call upon the Colombian government to do in this situation?
It's a good question, Richard, but as a medical and humanitarian organization, I don't think Doctors Without Borders should give opinion or to talk about what authorities do or not do. But what we are sure, if we see till today, the migrant policies in different countries have been failed. I mean, migrants continue crossing the world because it's amazing. We can see here nationalities from all around the world, Richard. It means from Western Africa, from Central Africa, it means Congo, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, from Asia, I can say Bangladesh, Nepal, India, Uzbekistan, Central Asia. It's amazing. And from mostly Haiti and Cuba. 75% are coming from Haiti and Cuba. But I'm sorry, just one more minute. They are not coming from Haiti or Cuba directly. They started their trip, their journey 2-3 years ago because of the situation of their home countries. But they arrived to countries like Chile, Brazil, they found a job, Uruguay, and they were settled down there for 2 or 3 years. They had children there with a passport different from Haiti. So they needed, because of, like I said, COVID pandemic, violence and crisis situation in these countries to start again their trip. And they want to arrive to a safe country. They want to have new opportunities. They want to have a new life. And it means most of them, they want to arrive to the United States, no doubt.
Well, I mean, are there different seasons? I know it's rainy season between April and December, so it's even more difficult, the crossing. But are there different seasons to different nationalities coming through? So you say, okay, well, it's July. We normally get more waves of Haitians, or more waves, or it's just always a mixture of different nationalities?
Okay, another good question, Richard. Since today, Haitians are the number one. Secondly, Cubans. But in the last 2 months, we faced Venezuelan, I don't know how to say it properly in English, Venezolanos y Venezolanas growing up. It means that the last month, probably the figure is double than the previous month. And probably the same quantity than from, January till June. Mm-hmm. The last month of July, they were crossing from Venezuela, double of the citizens from this country.
It's just an incredible number, and I'm looking at the figures on the Colombian side, obviously being here in Colombia, and it's not really being reported. There's a little bit here and there in the press, but it's such a, Necoclí is so far away from Bogota. It's almost a different part. I mean, it's almost a different country up there, right? And I'm just thinking about it. We know that Necoclí has a population of 21,000 people normally, and it's now at 32,000 people. So there's some, they say anywhere between 8,000 and 12,000 people waiting in Necoclí to cross the bay, the Bahía de Urabá, up to Capurganá, and you just know that there's like it's almost, I would say in Spanish, una represa de gente, so like a reservoir of people are ready to come. I mean, how do you prepare for this?
Wow, yeah, like I said, nobody is going to stop this. Not today. I mean, not this year, not in the coming years. This is a phenomenon all around the world, and it's going to continue for years. Not any rain. The rainy season is going to stop them. And like you said, even if I'm sorry, a little bit more pessimistic, because now we have crisis in Haiti, and we have a crisis in Cuba. And like I said before, in the countries in the past, all these migrants were used to stay for years. Now there is no this option. So it means that probably in coming months, more Cubans and more Haitians are going to start their new trip. And there is no other way, because they are not going to stay in these second home countries. They are going to try to go directly through Colombia to Panama and United States again. And Canada. Probably some of them, they would like to go to Canada too.
I'm curious as to something you said earlier, why maybe women have been raped in the 72 hours prior to arriving. Why is it happening so much on the Panamanian side?
Okay. According to their testimony, I think there is some point called Loma de la Muerte. They arrived there exhausted. And it's the beginning of probably a point, three different rivers are making a kind of joint. And probably it's a good point for that. I'm not sure. But that's the reason probably most of the events are happening there. And that's the reason they are arriving between 8, 3, 10, 24, and 72 hours.
Awful. Dr. Fabiola, maybe you could share with us some of the stories, maybe of your team in Bajo Chiquito and how they're feeling, because I would like to know if your team is getting psychosocial help, because this is not healthy, obviously, working mentally with these people suffering so badly.
Yeah, sure. Well, what I can tell you is that most of the patients that we treat, not only in the medical consultation, but also that arrive to take their child's or a friend, they share with us their stories, their experience in the Darien, and most of them talk about not only the hard and so difficult journey they have made, but also that they have been witness of people dying in the jungle because of the lesions or the injuries they have, and they can't continue. About the river rising and taking some people. And yeah, it has been really difficult for the team to contain all this information, and we are making our best to provide the best medical and psychological attention.
Mm-hmm.
Our teams also receive psychological attention, okay, so they can continue making this extraordinary effort that Doctors Without Borders are providing in this point. But as Raul had already said, it's really impressive. I have been working with migrants for the last 2-3 years, and I have never seen this amount of rapes in so short time.
Mm.
Just to add, Richard, I'm sorry. Like you said, it's very important to take care of the people who is taking care. That's the reason Doctor Without Borders has, since a long time ago, a special unit we call psychosocial unit based in Barcelona, in Spain. So anybody from our project or other projects around the world can call, can send an email, can do whatever they need to contact them privately and to try to get help from them. Apart from that, we have what we call cuidado del cuidador. There are some special organizations providing these services to us, and this is really important, like you said. So that's the reason, and it's just my last point. It was very important at the beginning that people like Doctora Fabiola came from Mexico, because we started the project in 2012 in Mexico since today to help the migrants crossing Mexico to try to arrive to the US border. So that's the reason at the beginning. Most of our team was composed from people from this project, because they had the expertise and they had experience treating same horror or same cases from migrants crossing Central America and crossing Mexico. It was really important, and we were really glad to get all this help from our colleagues in Mexico.
Excellent, wonderful. I had one of the anecdotal things I recall from my interviews with the journalist who did the trip. She said that people, in particular, obviously not the people from Haiti or Cuba, but people really didn't know not just the Darien Gap, the geography, but they kind of figured they would arrive at Panama and the U.S. is just on the other side. The United States is right there. Is this something you see a lot? Is this the absolute, let's say, lack of information that the migrants have been given? Because I guess they sort of pay coyotes from wherever they started, or this inadverted commas, the travel agencies, but they don't have the information about what they're going to go through, do they?
Yeah, you are right. But on the other side, some, or I think probably depending on the nationality they have, probably because they speak Spanish, so probably it's more easy for Cubans and for Venezuelans, Bolivians to get this information from their own relatives who tried in the past and they succeed to cross the Darien Gap. but probably nationalities from Asia or Africa or other countries, they have this language barrier, and they don't know exactly, like you say, what they are going or what is going to happen to them. And it's true, like you say, most of them, and this is not depending on the nationality, they think they can cross the gap in 2-3 days maximum, and that's not true. Now, because of the rainy season, like you said, they need probably minimum 7-10 days if you are in a good phase, because they need, like I said, to climb up, to climb down a lot of different mountains. They need to cross rivers, and this is a problem. Some of them, they don't succeed to do it. We know, because of the testimonies of the migrants, a lot of people is dying in the tank. Some of them, they are buried for their own relatives because it's important for them to get mental release, at least giving peace the bodies of their relatives. They face people dying on the river. They are losing their own children because they don't know when the river grows up. And normally they are trying to sleep in safe places next to the river. But in 5 minutes, the river can change. And some of them, they are losing their lives there. So it's not, like I said, they are getting robbed or they are getting raped. Also, it's really dangerous. There are a lot of risks in the middle of the jungle.
I mean, so I'm thinking, and how is the reception? We kind of know the Colombian side a bit, but how is the reception of these migrants? They are processed on the Panamanian side, and then does the Panamanian government put them on buses north? I mean, what is the process once they are in Panama?
Okay, I can say there are two routes and two hosting communities. Canamembrillo is one of them, but we are not there because the amount of migrants arriving there and the conditions they arrive, they don't have enough human resources and economic resources to be everywhere. But we are in 3 different points. The other host community is Bajo Chiquito. Most of them, they are arriving to Bajo Chiquito. Once the National Service of Migration is registering them and the National Services of Borders is helping them, they need to go what they call ERM. It means Migrant Reception Station or something like that. There are 2 of them in Meteti or near Meteti, which is the biggest town. After 3 hours traveling in pirogue, it means a kind of boat. I don't know, because there are local means of transport. I don't know how you say that in English or Canada. A canoe, but probably is something similar to that. It means that they cannot continue from Bajo Chiquito on their own. They need the authorities and the permission of them to get into one of these pirogues. And after 3 hours, they arrive to one of these migrant stations. We are there too in both of them, providing the same kind of services we are providing in Bajo Chiquito. It means psychologists, doctors, and nurses are waiting for them in contact, both teams, because in some cases, we need to continue providing treatment or we need to track if they need other things. So it's really important that more help arrive to Bajo Chiquito, like I said, because everybody is overwhelmed there.
Yeah.
Really.
I mean, would it be a better situation if the Colombian government and the Panamanian government organized, let's say a more legal route? I don't know, put on I'm talking like in a fantasy land here, but with all these people living on the beach in Necoclí and in Capurganá, this is not good. This is not healthy. We are also in a pandemic. Could you not put them on a naval boat and deliver them safely to the Panamanian side? Some sort of organization. I mean, Medicos Sin Fronteras obviously is apolitical, but there must be greater recommendations than do not try through the Darien Gap. I mean, it sounds like a death sentence.
Yeah, you're right. And this is why we were making this call different and several times to both governments. Obviously, can be a solution. I can say that Doctors with Borders was given this recommendation. We are talking about a safe route. We are talking about protection. The last week, everybody, we have read different news and different announcements from both governments. I hope this is a reality in coming weeks, coming days, or coming months, because this is going to be the solution, of course.
And I mean, Raul, you said that the numbers, I mean, the number I had, of course, is different to the number that you are saying, like some sort of 46,000 people. By the end of the year, with the troubles going on in Cuba right now, even more instability in Haiti, this, you know, we're in August, September, October, November, December, 4 more months. This number could be 70,000, 80,000 even. I mean, we're looking at a huge increase, I think.
Yeah, I think nobody knows. But like I said, our perception is it's not going to be stopped by anything, by anybody. And it means we need permanent solutions. We need permanent structures. We need permanent people working on this issue. It means everything who is semi-permanent, who is in a short time period, I don't know, this is not for me the best solution. We need to think in a long-term vision.
Dr. Fabiola, I mean, with your experience through Mexico and, of course, then the migrants coming through Central America, obviously the situation differs from people coming out of the Darien Gap. But what would you say is what is most needed from a medical standpoint, from your standpoint? What is most needed if we were to make a shout out to international organizations and say, listen, Medicos Sin Fronteras, they need this. This is what's lacking. We don't have enough of this to help these people. What would it be?
I think that the most important thing was told by Raul a few minutes ago. To be a migrant is not a crime. So to facilitate the access to the medical attention, whatever it is, I mean, like if you're pregnant, to have a delivery safe in decent place to deliver the baby, or to have medical access, to have a high blood pressure control, etc. It's something that is basic, and it's one of human rights, you know, to have access to medical services, and also to be able to provide for the migrants to have access to medical services and psychological services. Because, for example, in the migrants that are coming from Central America, they have the immigration is mostly because of the violence. They are living in their home places, so they had to run away from there because they have been families or have been killed or stuff like that. They have been threatened, etc., or torture. I don't know. There are different causes, but the violence in Central America is one of the main reasons they are deciding to move on. So having access to psychological services and medical service is something that is essential.
Wait here. I'm sorry. Just in my line.
Psychological line.
No. Adding more aspects that they need. I'm going to put you an example. Women arriving alone to our health facility in Bajo Chiquito without being able to give one more step because she has their own feet